Um, with Ethereum Classic and that 51% hack, the real challenge is there is the confidence it gives in the community, particularly for new cryptos. When these smaller cryptos are easily hacked in that regard, then it's more difficult for a token to get traction that's built on a proof of work type of model, right? Because if you imagine if you're launching a coin and without a certain level of market participants, it's easy for somebody to dominate your network and create counterfeit tokens. That's a real problem, right? And so it shows the community that we still have some challenges there, some opportunities. It bodes well for Bitcoin because Bitcoin is believed to be past that potential threat itself because of the size of the network and the community. But anyway, so that's kind of a summary. It's a threat we all know exists, and there's solutions that have been proposed on the table. There's other concepts of coins, but the problem is there's no perfect solution because even the solutions that are being offered have other challenges, right? When they're more centralized. Some of these more centralized tokens pose other challenges in the fact that they're centralized. So how are we going to resolve this as a community? I'm not really sure yet. The fact that we can build RSK, we can build smart contracts on the Bitcoin blockchain. I think we're going to see a large movement in that direction. I shared that with everyone. It's rsk.co. You can take a look at it, rsk.co, and you can take a look at that offering. But more developers are going there. And it might be the DApp solution that wins. I mean, there hasn't been another DApp solution besides maybe EOS that's really captured a large percentage of developers. And so they may all run there. And we may find smart contracts all being built on the Bitcoin blockchain. So and this goes back to a hypothesis that I made years ago, actually. Not necessarily in this group. Some of you have been with me a long time. But the hypothesis was, and still is, because this whole cryptocurrency space is a open source code. You have Bitcoin, for example, on GitHub. You have Ethereum on GitHub. You have Zcash. You have all these tokens on GitHub, all these technologies, and all these developers making suggestions as to changes and so forth. Well, because it's open source and anybody can modify the code and anybody can see what somebody else is doing, whenever something happens that is spectacular, if there's something out there that really enhances the viability of the blockchain technology, it's very easy for people to do that on top of Bitcoin. I mean, the Bitcoin blockchain, when Bitcoin was initially launched, the idea of being able to do programmable money and smart contracts and other types of things was always there. It's just it was harder to do on the Bitcoin blockchain. That's where Ethereum found its market. It created an easier solution, but it basically borrowed the whole concept from Bitcoin. Now, as Bitcoin has, I would say, mismanaged itself a little, not Bitcoin, but Ethereum. Ethereum has mismanaged itself a little bit, the community, in my opinion. And now, especially with this 51% hack on Ethereum Classic, building smart contracts on the Bitcoin blockchain with RSK is now real. And I think you're going to see a large movement of developers there. And that bodes well for Bitcoin. But the idea is that people used to ask me years ago, Brian, who's going to be the winner? Is Bitcoin going to be around, 10 years? Or is it going to be something else, right? Comparing it to Yahoo, for example, right? And I always argued the fact that I think Bitcoin is going to stick around. I think Bitcoin is ultimately going to be the winner because the dynamics of this network, because Bitcoin is morphing. I mean, there's changes and modifications made to Bitcoin every week. If you go on GitHub and you look at the the things that are going on there. There's things happening to it all the time. And then major releases get pushed out to the network, and the network downloads those changes and keeps on going. It's only when there's changes that have major political ramifications within the community that it's considered like a fork, like like Bitcoin Cash, right? There was a major dispute, and Bitcoin Gold and so forth. There are major disputes. But usually most people are consensus with the updates and modifications of what's going on, and it just continues to morph. So that, combined with the trust, with the infrastructure, with the brand, I think that Bitcoin is going to continue to win out to be the major player. And that's why a year ago, or many years ago now, but for you guys maybe a year ago, I said that, I'd keep your money in Bitcoin. And as we've seen, the ICOs have run their course faster than I thought, actually. And the rumors are that we're heading into a new stage of security tokens, right? The whole industry is getting ready for this surge of security tokens, which are no more than ICOs, just with PPMs, right? Private placement memorandums and disclosure documents and registration with the SEC in order to make the offering legal. And so we should see another cycle of that. Anyway, so RSK. So the other thing that we've talked about, and I just want to reiterate, is that we're all kind of watching this BACT situation, BAKKT, and ICE, the company behind it. And all indications so far is that they're still claiming they're going to have an offering this quarter, right? This first quarter. They're going to have futures for sure, and possibly an ETF. And they're, because they own about 12 major exchanges across the globe, including the New York Stock Exchange. If you didn't know that, the company behind BACT, ICE, owns 12 major exchanges, markets around the world. They're telling everyone that we're the best at managing market manipulation, and that's the big thing that the SEC is concerned about. Now, I remember last quarter, the SEC chair at a meeting I was at, the SEC chair said that we're probably not going to see ETFs anytime soon because of the concerns of market manipulation. But BACT came out in the same event and said, well, we're not really getting approval from the SEC. We're getting approval from the CFTC, and it looks like they're getting approval. So do you have Tim? Do you have any update? Is that accurate? Do we have any update on that?
The only update I have is from seeing, just recent news. First of all, obviously the government shutdown has probably prolonged the amount of time it'll take for them to get government approval, and be able to have that period of a 30-day period of public comment. The other thing I noticed is that they recently bought some company, and I believe it was in part to help with issues related to market manipulation. So that could make things take a little bit longer, but it looks like they have a huge amount of knowledge and financial wherewithal to talk to the Commodities Association and respond through something like, oh, we don't have that? Well, we'll buy a company, which I don't mean to mock. I mean, it's very impressive. So that's the newest thing that I saw, is a purchase.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. It seems like the guys at the other update, it seems like the guys at Binance are pretty on target with my idea. When I say my idea, I don't mean to take total credit for it, but one of the main components of our strategy for Zion Exchange is to have a broad base of fiat currencies on the platform. And it looks like Binance is targeting the EU and UK right now with a new fiat to crypto exchange, which I think is interesting. And I know they announced later last year that they were going to be going after that. So note to self, we need to continue to move quickly. That's an interesting development. The whole reason we brought up the thing about Bakkt is as you all know, we really need to see something like that happen in order to begin to move the market. We talked in the past about this current market. You know, we've pushed down. We're at $3,600 right now on Bitcoin, and we're just sitting there. Mainly because that group of people, the group of people represent the people that will buy Bitcoin almost at any price because they're utilizing it. And we had some market manipulation happening when we were at 6,500 in order to push it down to this level, where I said that we had some major sales, some major wallet sales. And then we saw they were making money on the futures contracts and pushing the price down. And so right now they haven't been able to move it down any further, it seems. So I'm hoping for the time being that we're solid, but I don't know yet when that reversal is going to take place. We're sitting there was a time like this. I remember back when Bitcoin was about $400 to $600, and it reminds me of that same time where it was just kind of sitting in that range, and then it jumped up to $800, and then it came back down and was between $400 and $600 just for an extended period of time. I can't remember what year that was. I'll have to look, but this kind of feels like that same period in time. It's like everybody's just kind of all of the innovators are working and building their products and solutions. Venture capital money is investing. I had a call with Pantera Capital just yesterday, and you know, they're still investing in blockchain-related companies, mainly in liquidity, and they claim that their fund is outperforming Bitcoin, but it's only because they're not marking the value of their companies down, right? The value of the companies, they keep the same no matter what happens to the price of Bitcoin. So anyway, this is a funny side note. But anyway, so that's what we're waiting for, the price of Bitcoin. I would continue to steer clear of other ICOs at this point in time. And we're going to play the patience game. Anybody that purchased into this market during the latter part of last year is going to do very well, right? Is going to see significant returns. And these are the days when we get to be tested on that, right? We just have to be patient. Okay, I have a range of places I can go. I want to see if there's any questions. George? So let me give everyone an update with regards to Zion as well, so that because I've had some questions from some of you, and I want to get this on recording right now. Zion is our cryptocurrency exchange. It launched in November of last year, and we brought it down about 3 weeks into the month because the user interface had some bugs, and we brought it back down. Since then, and this is like cutting edge information, but we've I don't know how much I should say, Tim. We've acquired and developed the code of the fastest platform on the planet. Zion is going to launch. We are going to launch a coin. There's going to be a Zion community token, and the Zion cryptocurrency exchange is going to have the broadest range of on ramps and off ramps from fiat into cryptocurrency. It's also the technology was built on Go, which is a language that Google developed, for faster, low latency server-side applications. We will be 10 times faster from the capacity to be able to handle. We can handle between 10 and 50 million transactions per second, which is about 100 times faster than NASDAQ, and about 10 times faster than Binance. So we will be, from a technical standpoint, we will be the world's leading technology or digital marketplace from that perspective. And then there's a lot of other things that we've got built into it. We've got AI that helps us manage, detect market manipulation that's going on. We also have the ability to execute trades across different points of liquidity. So anyway, from the Zion platform, you'll be able to buy Bitcoin on Binance, Kraken, Bitfinex, any of these other exchanges that we're connected to via our Flex APIs. So we'll be able to port all that liquidity through. So you'll be able to buy and sell to all of those markets from one platform. So the idea is to become a mega digital asset marketplace. So with all of these developments, we kept it down through the holidays. And I imagine we'll be back, we'll have the platform up and launched probably in February, based on my conversations today. And I can't tell you much more than that because I'll get in trouble. But it's really exciting. It's really, really exciting. We're going to have an incredible platform from many different angles. And so I'm looking forward to getting that out in the marketplace. And as friends of mine, I'll let you know what's going on with the Zion coin. The Zion coin, we're going to issue a billion tokens, and I can't say for certain yet what the offering price will be on those tokens, but it's probably maybe it would be around 12 cents per token, something like that. I can't say for certain because we have some partners that are involved in the marketing of that, and so. But I'll let you know well in advance of that launching. The Zion coin, it's much just like the Binance token. The Zion coin is going to be, we're issuing 1 billion units, and then every quarter we'll take 25% of the profits of Zion, and we'll buy back those tokens and destroy them. And we'll keep doing that until there's only 100 million left, right? So we'll issue 1 billion in the beginning, and then we're going to systematically destroy those tokens over time until there's only 100 million left. And depending on the number of tokens you own, you'll receive a discount on the exchange. So right now on the exchange, the fees for trading are about 10 basis points per side, depending on whether you're a maker or a taker, right? It's about 10 basis points. And you'll receive a discount depending on the number of tokens that you own. And I can't say precisely yet because it hasn't been built in, but it's about half, right? You'll be able to trade at about half the price if you own the Zion coin and use the Zion coin to pay for your fees. In other words, you buy the Zion coin, and then the Zion coin will come out of your wallet on the platform to cover your fees as you're trading on the platform. So that's very similar to the Binance model. And you guys may know the Binance story. Binance itself, they issued 200 million tokens, and every quarter they take 20% of their profits, and they buy those tokens back and destroy them. And they're going to continue doing that until they have 100 million left. So they're going from 200 million down to 100 million in tokens. And then they offered them out at 12 cents a token when they first launched. But I think the Binance, I don't know, it's around $9 maybe. BNB coin. What's the price of the BNB coin right now? $6.11. So they offered them at 12 cents. They raised about $15 million to that offering, and they did it basically the same way. And the current price of the token is $6.12 today. So that was one of the key components to Binance becoming the world's largest exchange in 6 months in 2017. And the reason why is because you had a lot of people that were excited about buying the Binance token because of the what we call tokenomics, right? The economics in the token, and it, you know, it already had a built-in system by which you could see how the value is going to go up over time, and that drove speculation and price. And now you have a token that's $6.12 rather than just 12 cents, which is a fascinating story. But many missed out on that opportunity, including myself, by the way. So anyway, I just want to share that with you. I'll even share with you I'll post just within this group. I'll post in Slack just a summary of that offering. So you guys are the first ones to be able to see. When I say offering, what I mean is just a summary of the business itself, just so you can see what's coming, and be in the know with regards to what's going on with that product. I think it's fantastic. Okay. Let's see. If you've ever been interested in getting into Bitcoin mining, now's maybe a good time to do that. And I say that because there's mining equipment that's on sale all over the place, right? And so now's the opportunity to get involved in that industry if you've ever thought about wanting to buy some miners and get into Bitcoin mining. Where it used to be you couldn't get your hands on miners, today you can buy them at a discount all over the place as Bitcoin miners have shut down. Now, if you do choose to get in that, just be forewarned, it's all about the cost of electricity. So you need to be clear about where you're putting that, what you're going to be paying for electricity. Those that have high electricity prices are not able to survive in this market and they have shut down. And so there have been mining operations shut down. Matter of fact, the largest mining operation in the world, which is Bitmain, their stability has been threatened by this downturn. It was a combination of things, not just the downturn, but also a little bit of mismanagement. So the current co-CEO has actually stepped down from Bitmain recently as a result. But so it all comes down to price of electricity in the end. Any questions? Okay. So let me jump into some economic factors really quickly that I want to discuss with you. Let me pull up my notes here and talk about 2019 a little bit. Give me just a second to pull up my notes. Let's see.
Right, it's Marco.
Yeah, Marco.
I've termed the 2019 as accumulation phase. That's where we're at.
Yeah, we're definitely at a phase of accumulation. If you still have more to accumulate, right? I know many of us, and myself included, saw that at the end of last year, end of 2018, and so I was heavily invested when we dropped from 6,500 down to 3,500, right? I'm able to make it up on we have an arbitrage that we do, so I'm able to increase my holdings, but the overall portfolio obviously kind of decreased in line with the decrease in Bitcoin price. But I'm not concerned in the least. I'm not concerned at all. Bitcoin is not dying, right? We're not going all the way down to zero. All of the fears that you've heard, it's just not. It's not real. There's too many fundamental factors that we're seeing an ongoing increase in price, very likely. And this type of capitulation that we've seen in the market now is very common before the next rise begins. So anyway, okay. Did I show you? I can't remember if I showed you this before, but I want to talk about just a couple of things. There's global economic output, flattening yield curves. I think we talked about bond yield curves in the previous call. And I'll just give you the highlights. With bond yields, you know, you have the 3-month, right? You have the 6-month, the 1 year, the 10-year and 30-year. And typically when you look at a bond yield curve, the 6-month pays a lower interest rate than the 30-year, right? And so it's called a bond yield curve when you have when you show interest rates like this and going, you know, like this for the longer term, right? Well, in recent history, I say recent history, in the last 20 years, every time before there is an economic recession, the bond yield curve inverts. In other words, probably Bill Gross out of Newport Beach, I don't know if you know who he is, which is one legendary bond trader in the world, but he's a brilliant, brilliant guy. But the bond market, these yields begin to inverse. In other words, the short-term 6-month interest rates being paid out are higher than the 6-month, 1 year, 10-year, and 30-year. And you know what? Let me. This is very interesting. I think it's informative. So let me go ahead and share my screen and show you an example of this. Let me pull up. Let's see, bond yield curve. Investopedia. There's a tool or chart. I think it's maybe stockcharts.com. Okay, I found it. There's several other factors, but the bottom line assessment is that I think we're going to see a major economic recession sometime within the next couple of years, probably beginning in 2019, but maybe 2020. That's the bottom line hypothesis, and I think that's going to bode well for cryptocurrencies worldwide. So I think that's, let me refresh the screen and I'm going to share it with you. Let's see. So, share. Firefox, where are you? There it is right there. Okay, if you can see this right here, and I don't know if I can, oh, I hope that's large enough. You can see here on the left-hand side is a bond yield curve showing the 3-month, the 2-year, 5-year, 7-year, 10-year, 20-year, and 30-year, right? And the interest rates on those. Let me pull out a typical curve. So right there, that's a typical curve. On the right-hand side is the S&P 500, and I just see that red line in the middle. That red line represents that point in time, February 22nd, 2002. Okay, so during that time, you can see a bond yield curve, and that's a typical bond yield curve that you would look at, right? Well, just prior to the dot-com bubble, what you see how that yield curve has reversed just before the recession, right? So just before the dot-com bubble burst, you can see the bond yield curve here flip, right? And that only usually happens for some reason. It's like a predicting indicator just before a major recession. If you look just after it, it starts to correct and corrects, right? And then you have your typical bond yield curve. I'm going to scroll through here. I'm going through 2003, going through 2004, going through 2005, 2006. We start to see it kind of come up a little higher. And then it starts to invert at the end of 2006 and 2007. You see that? And so here you have an inverted, what we call an inverted bond yield curve. And that's oftentimes a predictive indicator of what, and then we had the bust at the end of 2007 and through, of course, 2008. and bottomed out in 2009. And you can see the curve through the rest of that downturn, and at the bottom remained pretty solid. And you can, now I'll scroll through 2009, 2010, 2011. So you see a solid bond yield curve through this entire recovery process, 12, 13, 14, 15. Everything is solid for quite some time, right? Until 2018. And we see the beginnings of an inverted bond yield curve, right? We see the beginnings of that happening right here in 2018. And of course, we've seen the S&P 500 fall off, right? Just recently. So that's one of several indicators. That's why I wanted to share that with you. I thought it was interesting. You can see that at stockcharts.com if you're interested in taking a look at that yourself. And then let me hold this a second, pull other notes. And the other thing is the volatile equities market that we've seen, equities and commodities, right? Has been indicative of a potential global recession. So what this means for institutional money sees these indications and they're looking for alternative places to put their money. And one of the areas that they are looking at, because I've been talking to them over the last year or so, is they are looking at cryptocurrencies. They have been. Now, they haven't really allocated much from the institutions. Private individuals have allocated quite a bit, but institutions have not. And that's because, you know, they're concerned about market manipulation. They're concerned about, you know, wanting to have an ETF, an easy way to get in and out, more regulation in the space. They're concerned about custody and the main issues that institutions are concerned about. So those problems have been getting worked out over the past year, and we're in a good place for them to start pulling the trigger. And when they do, they will. So my point here is that I think that in the next 2 years, over the next 2 years, I can't say exactly when, but these signs are all indicative of a recession. And that's going to bode well for cryptocurrencies. So I don't know where else you're holding your assets or investments, but I would say position yourself well. Make sure you're well hedged so that you can protect yourself in these coming couple of years, because we are going to see some kind of recession. It's hard to say how much or how long and so forth. We'll see how the whole thing unwinds. There's a lot of speculation in the institutional circles that I've been talking to that's going to begin in China. The belief is that China is kind of on the edge with regards to its debt and its currency, and that the pressure being put on China because of the tariffs is going to push China into a recession, and that's going to begin a global recession. Again, that's just speculation and hearsay based on what I'm hearing, but I wouldn't mention it if I didn't think it was good information. So what we should be prepared for is just what Ray said at the beginning of the call, which is just be a little bit patient and hold on. And in a nutshell, that's the bottom line at this point. And hedge yourself if you're invested in other asset classes. So questions? Also, in a previous call, I said that I'm not going to give short-term trading advice, mainly because I'm not good at it. But it's in experience, we can't predict these short-term trends. I mean, we can all look at, and I'll bring people on this call that will have their input as to what's happened immediately. And I have my own opinions what's happened immediately, but you know, I'm only going to be right X percentage of the time. And nobody's going to pay attention when I'm right. Everyone always pays attention when someone's wrong, right? So anyway, all right, I'm open to questions. Tim?
I'm happy to be interrupted if anyone else has a question. I just was wondering if you might want to comment a bit about centralized cryptocurrency. Potentially, it looks like Facebook, I'm hearing, is likely going to releases cryptocurrency vis-a-vis WhatsApp as a centralized cryptocurrency. So I'm just wondering if you have any opinion about the preponderance of centralized currencies really being released, or the plans for release by private companies, and how that might impact decentralized cryptocurrencies in general in the market. I will also add, everybody, because we generally haven't said this in the past, that our blog post is up. If you go to, you can go to rockwelltrades.com if you want. You'll see our recent blog post, which is about Facebook's reported plans to create a cryptocurrency and integrate it with WhatsApp to enter the remittance market. Initially in India, the largest remittance market in the world, with $65 billion devoted to that market per year. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring up the question.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. And the potential immediate impact on the remittance market, what'd you say? It's about 500 billion, right?
Well, India itself is the biggest remittance market in the world. It's 65 billion. And you could well be right that the entire market is something like that, 500.
I think the entire market is about 500 billion. Has been a target for cryptocurrency innovators since 2010. When we looked at what are the first industries that this technology could disrupt, remittances was definitely the first one. One of the first ones that we looked at. Matter of fact, I launched a couple of projects to attack that market. One, I started with Bitcoin ATM machines, and the unique offering that I had around the Bitcoin ATM machines was that it gave the ability for people in California to transfer money to Mexico easily, right? So they deposit their US dollars in the ATM machine, they give their friend a code in Mexico, and that person goes to an ATM in Mexico and withdraws pesos, not even knowing that Bitcoin was involved in the transaction. Another project was my lending platform that I started, which is sitting on the shelf right now, which enables third world countries to be able to borrow money in crypto, but it also enabled remittances. And there's been a lot of talk about this. As a matter of fact, we thought that remittances would be one of the major disruptors to start off with, and it really hasn't yet. And the reason why it hasn't is the conversion to fiat is still difficult. Into fiat and out of fiat from crypto is still challenging. And those challenges has kept that from being a major disruptor, right? Someone like Facebook and WhatsApp getting involved in this would bode well because they're not going to have those same problems of getting it out of fiat. And let me talk about centralized cryptocurrencies in general. As you know, Bitcoin launched on the shoulders of a large group of libertarian-minded individuals, freedom-loving individuals that believe that the less government, the better, right? And get out of my face. And the ideal utopia of a libertarian is to maintain a decentralized cryptocurrency. And their belief is that people choose freedom over security. And I tend to believe that at the basic heart of human nature that we all desire freedom, but yet history has taught us a different story. And I have to be open to this reality. And that is that a lot of people in history choose to give away their freedom in order to have safety and security. Right now, we have banks and institutions that hold our money and hold our assets because we don't want to take the risk or even have the know-how maybe of holding them ourselves. With cryptocurrency, it gives people the ability to own their own money and to control it themselves. And a decentralized cryptocurrency means that nobody else can stop them from doing whatever they want with their money. Now, that's an ideal libertarian utopia. The reality of it is that we see is that even though with that power, it comes with a risk because people worry, well, what if I lose my wallet, right? Won't you take care of it for me? Can somebody else take care of it for me? Because I don't trust myself to be able to take care of it. And so there's this tendency, even for cryptocurrency enthusiasts, to want a central authority to help assist in managing their assets and payments. So take that and set it aside for just a minute, right? I think in the end, platforms like Bitcoin will win. I think there will continue to be a large, Ripple's an example, right? Ripple is a centralized offering that was meant to provide payment services for institutions and banks and so forth. And I didn't think that that would go anywhere because it completely undermined the utopian, decentralized, freedom-loving, cryptocurrency market. And yet Ripple has outperformed many other cryptocurrencies and has done extraordinarily well and continues to do great, even in today's market, right? And so admittedly, I was wrong there, and I had to reevaluate that thought process. We are going to continue to see centralized cryptocurrencies evolve, such as the one with Facebook, such as the one in Venezuela with the petrodollar, right? Countries launch their own cryptocurrencies that are centralized. It's nothing more than a centralized digital ledger, like we have somewhat with Visa and MasterCard and other platforms, right? It's very similar. If it's centrally controlled, it's a centralized database that handles the processing, ensures the trust and the settlement of that process. That's going to continue to happen because of the paradigm that most consumers still have, right? When I speak to people about Bitcoin, I still get asked the question, well, who's behind it? Well, who's making sure it's secure, right? Or how can I trust it? So the mentality of the masses are still in a place where they want somebody else to protect them and are not totally open to the idea of them taking personal responsibility for their assets and for their freedom. And so going back to what I was saying earlier is that I think we're going to continue to see things like this Facebook, this WhatsApp, Ripple is going to continue to be successful. Countries are going to come out with their own cryptocurrencies that are centrally controlled. And I think all of these efforts are going to continue to help accelerate the adoption of this new innovation and create a place for decentralized cryptocurrencies. And when I say accelerate its adoption, imagine if the whole country of Venezuela used the petrodollar. And now they spend money on a mobile app using a cryptocurrency, and they can exchange back and forth. Well, their uncle, their father, their cousin is going to tell them that, that petrodollar isn't really all that secure. You can exchange that instantly for Bitcoin. And with Bitcoin, you can buy from all these different locations, and you don't have to get permission to send the money, and the government's not tracking you. And there's going to be a tendency for people to move from those centralized versions to more decentralized versions, because now that they're familiar with it and comfortable with it, they're more likely going to desire freedom within that same realm and want privacy and move to those. So I think things like this Facebook platform and WhatsApp, what they're doing, is ultimately going to accelerate the adoption of more decentralized cryptocurrencies, but not initially, just over time. Yeah.
Don't forget Starbucks.
Oh, Marco, what do you say?
Yeah, Starbucks, they got 11 million wallets, very innovative payment systems. And so Starbucks, I bet they have some sort of blockchain reward that they're going to implement.
That's in conjunction with Bakkt. So Starbucks is partnered with Bakkt. That's a part of that same offering. And
I'm
so
just stating that they're not public about it, but I'm sure that they're going to come up with the product.
Oh yeah, they have. They're in conjunction with Bakkt. They're going to accept not only their own tokens, but they're going to accept Bitcoin as well. Starbucks is accepting Bitcoin in the form of payments. They've integrated a payment system that's built on the Bakkt exchange, and so Starbucks is going to accept payments in Bitcoin. Tim?
It sounds like you're saying that you're theorizing that centralized cryptocurrency could become an avenue to kind of expand the market for decentralized. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, the case is still out as to whether the masses are going to adopt a decentralized cryptocurrency. I mean, I'm hopeful, ideally, right? But you know, it's not common. I mean, the United States of America, the great experiment that is the United States of America, is not common. It was a unique experiment in which people took responsibility for themselves and was able to put together a system that provided the most potential freedom that the world has ever had. And the experiment was a great success, right? Because the fruits of it came great innovation, economic prosperity, not only for America, but also for the world. It was a great success. But most of the world has the ability to choose a system like the United States of America. And much of the world have adopted pieces of it, right? We have some democratic, some free economies, even in some socialistic countries. But no one's really fully embraced it as much as we did here. And I think there's an argument to be made that says there's still a large number of people that would rather that seek for safety and security over freedom and end up with neither. You know, that's how the saying goes, right? If you put safety and security above your liberty, you end up with neither over time. Okay. Other questions?
Hey, Brian, I don't know if you went over this last week, but do you have a game plan for yourself and where you'd be maybe speaking some of the upcoming crypto events?
Yeah, so I'm speaking in March in New York. Is I think my next engagement, and I'll send out a date. I'm sorry, I haven't published that information at all. Actually, I should do that. But I'll be speaking at the Opal. It's a conference for family offices and high net worth individuals. I'll send you guys a link. It's in New York at the Marriott in Times Square, and I'll post the dates. Maybe, hey Tim, maybe what we should do is we should maybe have a page on Rockwell CM's site of upcoming speaking engagements, and then we can point people there and kind of keep that current. But for now, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and post in Slack when I'm speaking. And sometimes they come up like really fast, like I'm speaking in 2 weeks. And sometimes it's longer than that. But I would love for all of you to come, not to hear me speak, because you guys hear me speak enough, but I just love to meet you face to face and say hello. Let's see.
And you may want to just add to your list that maybe you can share with us some worthwhile conferences or events to attend, even if you're not going to be a part of it.
Okay. Yeah, the ones that are on my radar, the ones that I think are worthwhile for attending.
Exactly.
Okay. What type of what type do you have in mind? Is it investment type conferences, or is it purely cryptocurrency and blockchain type conferences? Where does your
more of the, personally for me, more of the latter.
Okay.
More of the latter, but I'm not quite sure if in every city that we have our participants here, we have the luxury of choosing.
Yeah, I know. I know. So I'll go ahead and post the ones that that I would like to attend if I had the time.
The worthwhile ones.
Yeah, the ones that are worthwhile. And
have you thought about some guest speakers?
Oh yeah, totally. We've got some lined up actually. We have a couple already lined up for these calls. We haven't fully launched this product yet, so we're not doing anything with. I mean, besides this weekly call and setting up the infrastructure to manage the community going forward. We haven't done anything yet. We don't have anything scheduled yet, do we, Tim? We
have somebody ready to go, but we don't have things scheduled because we want to make sure that we have the make the strategic plan to promote it correctly. Yeah, we have some scheduled.
Okay, all right. So yes, so that's in process. We just haven't promoted it, so we haven't locked in the dates for those individual guests. But we've got some really good guests that have already committed to being on the call. And our plan, originally we were talked about having like a few of the people that comment, but our plan is to do it like I used to do my radio show some time ago, is just to have a myriad of different guests, because I think it's valuable to get different people's views and opinions and outlook that are knowledgeable in what they do and provide their filter, right, to us. So we're gonna cycle through a bunch of different people, other hedge fund managers, and other institutional players, VC venture capital firms, Pantera Capital. Matter of fact, that's one we should put on there. We should get Dan on here. I just spoke to him yesterday. Dan, I think Moorhead at Pantera Capital. But that's our intention. But I haven't done it yet because we haven't done any promotion, and we've got 7 people on the call, right? And although I love all of you guys, which I do, and will continue to do this call for even just you guys, but as I want to get 20, 30 more people on the call, and get those guests on here as well. So yes, I seem to be a little verbose today. Long-winded. So I do want to share something with you guys interesting. I'll give you a little tidbit. I'll put it in Slack. Where's Slack? I just think this is really cool. Let's see. Where is it here? Right here. No, come on. Well, there we go. Work. There we go. Okay. All right, I just uploaded so you guys get the first to be able to see and catch the vision of what's coming with regards to Zion. I just uploaded. Matter of fact, I put it in the. Let me put it in the right Slack channel. I didn't put it in the right Slack channel here. There we go. So there's a little bit of insight into what's coming with regards to Zion. Okay. All right. All right, well, feel free to reach out to me, guys, anytime. Feel free to email me or message me on Slack.
Okay, good.
Okay, and it was good to chat with you all. I think we're sitting in a really strong spot right now, and so let's continue to be patient and ride this out to the upside. As we ride this up to the upside, there'll be an opportunity to get in and out a little bit as that volatility increases, and I think this call will help us navigate that, right? So we can maximize our returns. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you, Brian.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.